Now today in the shop we're going to replace the kickstand on our Yamaha RD400. This you would think would be a simple, straightforward job. Well, yeah, like everything in motorcycling, there's always a couple of tricks and tips, like putting back on the kickstand spring, that it's worth sharing. And as we're working on this bike, as the bike gets older and older, the parts that we use get older and older, and we graciously were donated a kickstand by Bill Mantley. I hope I'm saying his name right again, Mantley. But Bill, anyway, I want you to be sure I appreciate it. I've restored it to the best of my ability, and today's the day we're going to get to put it on the bike. There are a couple of little tricks worth passing on, and as I'm working today, Karen is in the kitchen. I'm going to have to be giving her a hand, but we're looking at a freezing cold day out there. This might be one of the coldest days of the year. It'll be good to get back in the shop. Now, I woke up this morning thinking I was foolishly thinking I was going to get a ride today. And they said it was going to go down last night into the low 20s. When I got up this morning, it was still in the low 20s. I'm still freezing out here. I'm back in Green Bay. But I have a little job I wanted to do today. The paint on the kickstand is drying for the RD. Is drying now, a couple days up by the heating vent. That should be ready to install. That'll be a nice little job. And I can get out of this cold garage a little earlier. Now, the thing that's funny is I thought there's a lot of things about kickstands people don't understand that I have witnessed in my life. Little tips, little things, something that made an experienced guy with 50, 60 years of motorcycling. You already know this. It's not a secret. But a lot of new people that just get their first or second bike fall into a trap. And it's a very easy trap to fall into with a kickstand. And I thought I'd put some of the funny stories of funny things I know that have happened to me over the years, and we'll share them on this video. Now I'm just showing this picture just as an example of something. The green motorcycle stands up at about what I think is the right angle. This is a brand new bike, right from the factory. And it kind of leans a little bit more than I like. Well, I want to show what I did a couple of times to cure that. The RD, of course, I had, and this is well, not a really funny story, but the original kickstand, when I put on the tune pipe exhausts, and I've had two different systems on it, and the reason I got rid of them, we were just trying to quiet down the bike. But I had cut this tang off the kickstand that I had to make a piece. I made a piece with a bolt. The bolt eventually fractured. I used a grade 8 bolt. That seemed to work a little better. That hasn't broken yet, but it's still annoying. It's still nicer if you have the stock part. And I want to show this. This is something almost everybody with a motorcycle, in the very beginning, they don't figure this out until it's too late. And like I said, this is a simple thing, but it can really bite you. And this I have put on several bikes what I call a little shoe, a little aluminum foot, to get the bike to stand up at the right height. I don't like the bike. I actually don't like the way the MT-09 leans. I'm going to make one of those little feet eventually. I just haven't had time to do it. It's on my project list for the winter. These are the adjustable kickstands that I have on some of the bikes now, and Luciano has it on several of his bikes. These are about $45 if I remember right. They're adjustable. And you can see what the adjustment would be. So that's of course the best of all possible worlds, if that's one of the choices you have. Now, they only make them for certain bikes, so you don't have all the choices in the world. Now you can see on the FZR I've had to tinker with the kickstand many times, because when I lowered the bike is lowered about an inch. You have to adjust the angle, and I've done that with the grinder. But then if you go too far, what you have to do is add a little foot to it. So either way, having an ability to get the bike to sit up to where you're comfortable with it. And it really is, when it stands up too straight, you're always looking for a spot. And in my case, what happens is, I stop the bike to take a picture maybe 30 times during a ride. Well, I have to find flat ground. Now, another thing, these little feet that go on there, they help if you're on soft ground or hot tar. So even if you don't need, I usually make them out of 1/4-inch aluminum, it's a real handy thing. And you can just bolt them on or unbolt them. One bolt even will hold it on. And I wish I would have shown that on when I put the one on the green bike, that was the best one of all. I was not happy to weigh that. I was always afraid it would fall over. And this is the 650 that I restored, and because for a lot of things can happen, changing fork springs, changing shocks, changing tire sizes. In the end, what happens is if I take this piece out, this spacer, what happens, the bike just leans too much and I'm not happy, and a lot of times when I stop to take a picture I just get too nervous. So as everything with my little bike collection, everything is a small detail, but the small details all add up. And in the end, the idea is to have bikes that you're comfortable with, easy to park, don't tend to get rickety-rockety when you go to walk away. You're not afraid you're going to fall over. This is a little tiny thing. Now, I want to thank Bill Mantley, because what had happened, and I'll go back to this story in a second. I have 2 sets of these tuned exhausts, yes, and they're fun, and they add a little power, and they kill the mileage, and they're loud. The loud is the deal breaker. But what happens is, in the end, I had taken a kickstand. I'll do this because I'm going to put this on the bike today. I had taken and cut that part off, thinking, oh, I'll just go up to Luciano's and weld it back on. Well, when I got done with all of the adventure of that bolt breaking, and believe me, that was a really annoying thing to have happen. So I really thank Bill again for that kickstand. We've restored it a little bit nicer than stock, and today we're ready to put it back on a motorcycle. But that's just some basic kickstand information. Anytime you lower a bike, the kickstand's going to have to get adjusted if you want to maintain the angle. And if you have the angle too straight up and down, you're always worried somebody's going to come by and sneeze and the bike's going to fall over. And every time you see one fall over, you wonder. And then you say, oh, didn't I know that? Now I'm just thinking, yesterday's video, I got to ride 2 bikes. I got to ride the GS, and I got to ride this short ride, but I got to compare the sound, and even with the Turbo Steve, that little wind slayer, the aerodynamic bike, and it jumps right out at you when you go from a no aerodynamic bike to an aerodynamic bike, just how different it is, even with bikes that are relatively quiet. And at the end of that video, I put some of the video of this bike chasing Mark Morgan around, and you almost don't hear the wind noise because the exhaust is that much louder. But one of the things we're going to be trying to do in the future is quiet this bike down too, and it's all coming. We still have a nice long priority list for this winter's work, and I hope you'll enjoy sharing these projects with us. Today the project is to get that kickstand on. Every morning when I go get the paper, I look at this is my water fountain. Solid ice. So you know, last night it went down in the high teens, I think. It was cold out here this morning. And I think today is the last day of the holiday season. Karen wants to take the tree down and the decorations and everything, but we have had, and I hope your family's had, a wonderful, wonderful Christmas this year. We just could not have had a better Christmas. And having a puppy in a family now, he's added a nice dimension. Any day it's below freezing and you go outside for a while to get ready for the day, this is the thing that makes it possible. So while I'm working on motorcycles out in a freezing 28-degree garage, the lovely bride is making what? This is autumn harvest soup?
It will be.
It will be, huh? Oh my God. Now you wonder why, how many vegetables do I eat in the course of a week? No wonder I'm so healthy. Oh, I'm eating sausage. Oh,
That's the base.
Well, let's cut that. Let's edit that out of the video.
That's the base of the soup.
So here's Wendy's diet and here's Luciano's diet. Now this is all going in a soup pot, huh? Wow.
In this big soup pot.
It all goes in a soup pot, and by the end of the day, when my kickstand's on, we'll be eating. We're gonna have this tonight for supper.
Yes.
Autumn harvest soup coming your way. And this is the last day of our Christmas tree. Tomorrow morning we get up. We're gonna take the Christmas tree down, but we really, again, boy, I'm hoping your family had as good a nice and happy Christmas as we had, and boy, we have had so much fun with that puppy. Now, needless to say, today's operation requires some heavy-duty manpower. Changing kickstands and cutting vegetables, what a thrill. How much fun can this be? Little do they know I'm a gourmet cook. Oh, my knife skills are not to be believed. How's it going, baby?
Good, this is a turnip.
A turnip. So Karen's really putting me to the test here. I not only have to install kickstands, do other things around the house. I have to drink this soup when it's done. And boy, when Karen makes one of these veggie soups, this is an autumn harvest soup. So much labor, but boy is it good and healthy. So finally, I got all the food prepped up for Karen, and oh boy, that's drying by a heating vent. We're gonna go outside and install that after another cup of coffee. Wow, that came out nice. Paint is perfect on it. And boy, talk about perfect paint. Boy, we worked on this project. I really look at this, I can see myself in it. Look at this. Wow. Luciano. Hey, he should be here peeling vegetables and stuff for me. Look at that. That really came out nice. That is going to be one sweet H1. Now, he painted the side covers and the tail, so we'll see if his stuff is as shiny as mine. I know it is. Now, there's a lot of reasons for me taking a lot of pictures from every possible angle, and one of the reasons is I like to have it for my video library and my just list of projects that we've worked on over the last 50 years. But the biggest one is if I ever have to match this, or if we damage that paint somehow, I have a good reference of where the decals go and the stripe. This will definitely be a really nice detail touch on our RD, and I think it's warmed up out there enough that I can go out there and crawl on my back and swap out these kickstands. There's no end to this work. This is a lot of work, huh?
But we get great healthy soup.
Hey, I'm still alive. That's the bottom line. You sure you couldn't mix Bondo this way? So step one is, luckily, we have a center stand on the RD. Get it in position. That'll be easy to swap that kickstand out. So before we even start, I want to show this. This is the little concoction I had to make. And that's a grade 8 bolt. And boy, was that was way more work than I thought it would be. I had to make a rubber bushing so it didn't bang up against this. So the bottom line is, if you put tuned exhausts on a motorcycle, or you have more than one exhaust system, boy oh boy, I hope you take into account that once you cut those pieces off, unless you can weld them back on conveniently, and I couldn't at the time, making that thing is a lot more work than you think it is. Now, first thing here is we're going to get that old kickstand off. There, the first thing is to pop that spring off. Once we get that spring off, it'll make working on this a little bit easier. And we'll clean this up before we put anything else together here. And that spring, I'll get some of the grease off it with just a little diesel fuel. And once we get that ready to install this, I'll run it down to the polishing wheel. Just clean off all the grit off it, so it'll be better what we always say is, so it'll be better than the day it left the factory. So the first thing is to get the locking nut off the back. Okay, the locking nut is off at last. Now, to get this bolt out, the bolt, of course, when you try to take it out, the last couple of threads, if it was a couple of threads shorter, it would come out. I've got to remove the muffler. And to remove the muffler, I've got to take a bolt out under here with a socket and then loosen up the bolt at the back. And maybe I can just pull the muffler away enough to get the bolt out, but if I have to take the muffler off, it's not a big deal. But that's one of the quirks of an RD, is when you go to change the kickstand, you got to take the muffler off. And that's the purpose of the videos, is to show these little quirks, so when you do a job like this, you don't, you at least prepare and get the tools you need and allocate the time you need. Now, one thing that's handy here, of course, is having these the little Harbor Freight lights. Okay, that bolt is out. Now, and I'm not sure we can move this enough. No, we can't. I'm gonna have to. Looks like I'm gonna have to take the muffler off. By getting this off, the muffler's gonna drop down, and we'll be able to get access to that bolt without making yourself crazy here. have this off, I may as well just clean everything up. There's always grease on the bottom of it. This is the side the chain is on. And of course we'll try to degrease that side of the bike while we have this apart. Just a little common sense. And whenever you install a different exhaust system on an RD, yeah, boy, it changes everything, the jetting and whatever, but you never think, wow, at the end of it, you may want to put the stock mufflers back on, or as we evil twin things out, maybe next summer, we'll put the loud exhaust on and go back to riding in Perkins. But I do like having all the choices, and I do have a whole spare stock exhaust system, so we're good to go on exhaust systems. So now pulling that bolt out will be a piece of cake, and the kickstand will come right off. Boy, if you only knew how cold it was. I feel like I'm in back, I always say, at Green Bay. Okay, the bolt comes out, this is out. And there's our old one. Obviously we'll save it in case we ever, well, we never know if we're going to use it. And I never know if I'm going to get the bug to change the exhaust system again. And Luciano at one time had that really high performance exhaust system, but boy, it made the bike unrideable. That one that we had was, the first one was really good. And I think it was Ray's friend Malcolm that turned me on to getting that. But anyway, hold the whole nother kettle of fish. This is ready to put, I wipe it down, put it in inventory. And if you look at them side by side, you can see it's not, believe it or not, it's not as easy as you think to make that part. But there's nothing better than having a stock Yamaha part that's restored better than new. So before I put anything back together, I took some rag with some diesel fuel, clean all this up under here. There's always some road grime, grease, whatever under here. Before I even put the muffler back, I can get this part cleaned up. Now we're ready to put the new kickstand on. And this should go as smooth as can be, because we know it's a stock Yamaha part. Now actually, the way they engineered this up, it's pretty good, because even if that nut were to come off, the bolt wouldn't be able to come out of the thing, and you'd lose the kickstand and go flying back and kill somebody. Now of course, in tightening this up, I had the new bolt is perfectly clean, and I have some blue Loctite on it. Keep it nice and tight. So next thing is to run this on the wire wheel over there and clean this up just a little bit. Just a little bit nicer. In fact, a lot nicer. Now, I want to share a trick getting this back on, even when you have a spring tool, which I have, but it's still a bear to get it on, and you always tend to slip and everything. I'm going to try this, and I saw this on Alan Milliard's channel, and there's Luciano calling to see if his bike is ready. Maybe it is. So now this is, and I saw this on Alan Milliard's channel right about the time that I was, and thank you, Alan, for posting all those cool videos up. And it's just, even with a spring tool, you can get this on. Yeah, especially if you have a helper. But when I was putting the center stand on the GS, that spring is so strong, I'm not sure Godzilla could get it on barehanded. This way, it gives you a lot of choices. And what you do is you just put pennies, washers. It doesn't really matter what you put in this case. I just got any old washers, and alternate them on each side. And what that does, it stretches the spring, of course, which hopefully will let us get this on without breaking our knuckles or whatever. Well, Karen's up there cooking away. Boy, I could smell that in the house. And that's what happens. Sometimes you got to be real careful, doing this. And it depends how many you need to get it on. If it's still too short and you can't get it on, put some more washers in. Now it's pretty funny sometimes how something as simple as a zip tie can make a job a little bit easier. And in our case, you know what? We're always looking for easier. I don't know why. I think it has to do with old age. Anyway, with this Now see, this is the thing. Most of the things I do in life, I'm used to working alone. And so now with that up, that's at its minimum stretch point. Now I just need to see if it's my lucky day and I can put this on with a minimum amount of drama. And that will remain to be seen. And it went right on. Now, the only thing now is I got to pull the washers out one by one. Just take the washers out. Boy, is that a lot easier. If you've ever struggled with a kickstand, with any spring, really. And as handy as a spring stretching tool is, this is easier. And now all the washers are out. Oh, might help if I cut the zip tie. So the zip tie is a good tip also. Always little things, backyard mechanics sharing things. Well, that couldn't be any better. Just couldn't be any better. Wow. Now, next thing on this is going to be to put the muffler back on. Put the muffler back on. I'm just trying to dope this all out. And we are probably, this might be our lucky day. And that is for sure a tip worth sharing. And boy, does that make what could be a real nightmare of a job, that makes it a one-person doable job. Thank you, Alan Milliard. And one thing that's always nice working out here is we live in a zone with a lot of churches, and usually what's happening is all during the day they're playing the church bells. I hear the church bells right now. Maybe they're going to help me celebrate. I'm not sure. Now with that piece hanging, here's a good tip. When you go to put this on, get that bolt hand tight, then get under there and get that one hand tight, because that bolt, if you tighten this one, that one doesn't line up exactly right. So I always try to remember to do this. The whole trick here is to get this bolt as tight as can be. That's it. Close to the torque setting that we're going to get. Make sure this gasket is in all the way, and only now can we tighten up that back bolt, because this back one, it floats in a rubber bushing. And I have made that mistake in the past of not tightening the front bolt first, and boy, did it make extra work. Because this bolt is floating in rubber, and if those threads don't line up, it's a pretty tight thing, and it's got to be the right angle. Just a little tricky. Alright, so we got some blue Loctite on this bolt. We are ready to go. Oh, that worked out to be a nice installation. Again, thank you, Bill. Well, unfortunately, there's no way we're going to get a ride in today. We just don't have enough time. My grandson's coming over, and Karen's got stuff coming out of the oven. But that installation, I'm glad that's behind us. And we can get into a nice warm house now. And when you have a love of these old bikes, it's just the sound, the smell, the grease. I don't know what it is. You get on that bike, and as soon as you hit the gas, you're doing a wheelie. Holy mackerel. And it brings back memories of days when I was a lot younger. A lot younger. So the last thing today is I need to check in with Luciano again and see if he's going to be able to pick this up very soon. He could leave it here as long as he wants. It just really came out nice. That is really going to make for one nice H1. Now before the day ends, I want to show this soup. Hey, wow, is that going to be delicious when that's done. Thank you, Karen. So this day ended on a super positive note. That soup, when I came in out of the garage, oh my God, it was like going from Green Bay to Miami. That soup just permeates the whole house. So anyway, I think it's time for another cup of coffee, but I can't tell you how good it is to be in the house. Anyway, we are done. And I hope I'm saying Bill Manthey's name right. I might have misspelled it. I do have the note on the wall. But the kickstand, Bill, worked out beautifully. Added a nice new dimension to the bike and kept it stock, which is what I really want. And the paintwork on it was just a free bonus. And thank you, Bill. Every time I ride the bike, I will think about it. But there's other things in my life right now that have taken over. My grandson's coming over. Karen's cooking. We got just a load of stuff to do. We got to take the Christmas tree down. A lot of other stuff. It's been a great year. I hope sharing it with you has been a lot of fun. I hope you've had the same fun I have. Anyway, I want to thank the healthcare workers, as I always do at the end of a video. Guys, just thank you. That's all there is to it. Every time I think about it, and I know we're getting spikes right now in New Jersey and Long Island, and God, it never ends. It's unbelievable. But keeping these old bikes running, keeping them that they're fun to hang out with, and Luciano's going to have this guy done pretty soon. Oh my God, just thinking about those two-stroke days that we used to go smoke up Harriman Park. Wow. Mark, Morgan, all of them. We really had a lot of fun. And I don't think the fun's over. I think we got a good summer coming up, hopefully. Anyway, hope you did enjoy the video, and thanks so much for watching. And of course, we do try to post up something motorcycle related with a little spice from the family, a little cooking once in a while, or some other activity. But anyway, the whole thing I really was focusing on today, we're pretty much starting a new year, and I want to start on a positive note. Think about the good times ahead, especially riding these two-strokes around, and with Luciano riding his around too. And I hope you really did enjoy the video, enjoy sharing these little adventures with us, and thanks so much, guys, for watching.